Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om and greetings from Niagara Falls. How many of you have been in a play before where you acted? Right? Almost all of us have been in a play before. When you put on your costume to be a queen, to be a letter carrier, whatever role you had, who you are, did that change by you putting on that costume? When you put the costume off and put on your ordinary clothes, your ordinary accessories, did you change then? An actress, an actor, knows the difference between having a costume and being a costume. And Sri Ramana's encouraging us to think along the same lines, to know the difference between having and being, having thoughts and being thoughts, having happiness and being happiness. This is all different. When we are clearer of the distinction between having and being, a change manifests in our personality. We're more courageous, less fearful. Right now, the having and being is the same. So Vivek, his body, Vivek, everything he's done, this is who I believe I am in a fundamental way. Sri Ramana is saying that you are infinitely more than just a name and a form, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid of losing my identity. And the way that Rumi shares this, we're all like drops of water, and we're holding on so that we don't become the ocean. We shouldn't be afraid of avoiding the ocean. We should be afraid of avoiding the ocean, not be afraid of becoming the ocean. Enough poetry. Okay. In the last shloka, Sri Ramana is taking us into a deeper study of that which is most universal. That which remains when nothing else remains, that's what we're trying to isolate, we're trying to identify with. And in doing so, that which is relative becomes darker. And that which is absolute becomes lighter. We need that clarity. Like a multiple choice question where I know for sure this can't be the answer. So it's darkened. And now I have to figure out what is the right answer. So those come to light. What is most universal in you, in all of us, is not the mind or the thoughts. Not the I thought or this thought, or even the I thought. This study continues in Shloka 20. Ahamina shabhaj yahamaham taya. Ahamina shabhaj yahamaham taya. Spurati hrit swayam paramapurna sat. Spurati hrit swayam paramapurna sat. Ahami nasha bhaj. It is bhaji. This I thought eventually, through inquiry, is destroyed. Nasha, bhaji, is transcended. Making this more simple. Every state we're in, we believe to be absolute. When we are asleep, not that we can verbalize this, that's all we know. That's all there is when we're asleep. When we're dreaming, where this is more cognized, more described, in a dream state, that's all I know, that's all I believe there is. When I'm dreaming, there is no sleep state, there is no waking state. And now we are awake. We can infer, we can remember the dream state, the sleep state. We believe those to be relative, and this is the absolute. In actuality, neither the sleep, nor dream, nor waking state, any of them are absolute. And so any experience in these states can't be absolute either. All relative. Here, Sri Ramana is picking on that I thought. This I thought is the ego, is the sense of separation. Now think. This sense of separation is, I don't feel identified with the body that's next to me. I don't see myself in other articles, other beings, other circumstances. I only feel this I-ness in this entity, whatever this entity is. This sense of separation I feel is absolute, but no state is absolute, no experience is absolute, and neither is this sense of separation. As you keep thinking about this, remember, in the waking state, we believe this is absolute when it's not. The ego also is not absolute. This sense of separation causes us to be afraid, even to be afraid to be enlightened. I'm afraid because I'm separate from you. And where there's this separation, there's this fear, there's selfishness. Because I don't identify with you, I go into protection mode. I have to protect my stuff. I have to protect my image. Countries do that too, no? This idea of protectionism. We shouldn't import goods, and if we do, we should tax them a lot. This is why Paramahansa Yogananda says we shouldn't be nationalists. We should be internationalists. If I can help another country be independent, why would they ever think about invading my country? Yes? If all countries are doing well, then why would anyone seek to fight another country? But we're stuck on being nationalists, and that comes from the micro, this sense of separation, which I believe is absolute. Sri Ramana is saying it's not. Aham aham taya. This feeling, this truth of aham aham, this is no longer a I thought. This is simply I as existence, I as awareness, I as joy. It's not a thought, it's the truth. The knowledge that I am not the mind thoughts, I thought this thought, I thought. The knowledge that I am existence, awareness, joy is like a wind. And me thinking I am the mind thoughts, I thought this thought, I thought, are like clouds. This wind comes and blows or pushes these clouds away. And when the clouds are brushed aside, what do we come to experience again? The sun. The sun is always shining. Those clouds, as if, stop the sun from shining. Me ignoring I, not the I thought, but me ignoring I doesn't make I disappear, doesn't extinguish I. I is. All that's happened is my focus is on the I thought rather than the I. And knowledge changes all of that. In more technical Vedantic terms, these clouds, or let me go even more into more of an expression, these clouds that rain, these clouds that bring snow, that rain and snow and precipitation is called Vikshepa. Vikshepa means projection. So I definitely can't experience the sun because all I experience is this rain and this snow. In our subjective lives, how do we start to cope with, how do we deal with all of these projections? Through yamas and niyamas. By having a lifestyle of don'ts. Don't indulge. Don't lie. Don't own things that you don't use. Followed with niyamas, which are the do's. Be organized. Expand your comfort zones. Dedicate what you do to the divine. All of a sudden, those projections like jealousy, projections like low self-confidence, all of those get dealt with. So now I can understand the clouds better. And that's called avarna. The word varna means color. The word varna means description. Avarna is when there's no color, no description, there's only blackness. There's only ignorance. When that vikshepa is dealt with, I can understand this cloud more, that this cloud, there has to be something behind the cloud. For me to even know the cloud, there has to be light. So how do I deal with this avarna? We all chant this every week. Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari. Continue. Baranau Raghuvara Vimala Jasu Jodaya Kupalachari. This is the first doha, the opening prayer to Hanuman Chalisa, Baranau. Baranau means varana, which means to describe. When I start to describe, when I start to remember Bhagwan, the divine, then all of a sudden I start to relate to that, identify with that avarna no longer touches me. So avarna is dealt with through bharanau, knowledge. And then that I thought is transcendent. And there is I. Spurati rit swayam. Spurati means to shine. Spurati means spontaneously. Rit means in the heart. That which is close to you. Swayam, by itself, independently. So I'm going to give you a framework now of some I's. Okay, so try to follow along. Small case I is the ego. In the language of Upadesha Sara, the I thought. I, in italics, okay, so this is capital I, in italics, is Ishvara, or God. And then capital I, bolded, is infinity, existence, awareness, joy. Okay? So small case I, capital I in italics, capital I bolded. Let's look at this again. I, the ego, is the created, the created. I, that is God, is the creator. And I, the infinite, is consciousness. Thus far, Sri Ramana has only brought up I, the ego, and I, the infinite. But he's doing his varana. It's coming. He's bringing in more description, more clarity that there's actually an in-between I known as Ishvara, God, the creator. And I'll give you one more way to look at all of this. I, the ego, is known as Vyashti, the individual, that which is specific, that which is small, that which is micro. I, that is God, is the Samashti, the total, the general, the macro. And I, that is infinite, is Swatantra, independent, is transcendental. When we think of Atman, when I think of myself as part of creation, that's still not absolute. Only when I feel I, the consciousness, that is absolute. And this leads us to the last quarter, which says Parama Purna Sat. This truth, also known as existence, is Parama, is the highest, is absolute, is factually absolute. And when one tunes into this, one feels Purna. One feels complete. Now there's some technical descriptions here too. Pratibhasika Satya is known as the unreal. Pratibhasika Satya. This is a truth. This is a reality that is unreal. As if more real is known as Vyavaharika Satya. Vyavaharika Satya is a reality that is relative. a reality that is relative. That is our societal reality. That is our familial reality. And then there is Paramarthika Satya. Paramarthika Satya is a reality that is Parama Artha. In other words, this is the only reality. So when Sri Ramana uses this word Parama, there is no lesser aspiration that he's teaching. He is guiding us to enlightenment, period. This is a subtle shloka, and the remaining 10 shlokas are not any different, but I'll share some implications of all of this. The ego identifies. If you go back into the equipments and what they do, what does the body do? Interacts. What does the breath do? Inputs. What does the mind do? Interprets. What does the intellect do? Instructs. What does the ego do? Identifies. When the ego identifies with that which is micro, that which is small, then the ego is more possessive, and the more possessive one is, the more partial one is. When this ego identifies with the macro, with that which is general, all of a sudden the ego is less possessive. The ego is less partial. So here we are given a methodology on how we can not just intellectually appreciate the difference between lowercase I in italics, cap bolded I, is to identify with more. To try not to feel that sense of separation that this is my body and that's not my body, but to be more sympathetic, to be more empathetic, to share the road more, rather than being irritated, honking, to be more careful with how you park. Don't take 2 spaces up, even though there's snow on the ground. Right? All of a sudden, I'm less possessive, I'm less partial. And Vedanta is always talking about how we have to be beyond likes and dislikes. Partiality is clearly expressed as likes and dislikes. This Vyavaharika Satya, our societal reality, our family reality, we justify this reality as in, fine, I'm not living my life in this pratibhasika satya, in this unreal reality. I'm more noble than that. I'm deeper than that. But remember, that which is not absolute is not absolute. What's the point in varying degrees of relativity when there is the potential for the absolute? So as we think of our identification with our family, our society, remember, that's still unenlightenment. Paramarthika is the only freedom. This enlightenment is a chintya. In Bali, in Indonesia, God is described as achintya. We study that word. Chinta means to reflect, to think about. God, the infinite, is achintya. When we no longer have that I thought, there is just I. That is Sat. That's the truth. That's you. And another word to describe that which is indescribable is avarnya. See, avarana means, it means indescribable. That which does not have varana, is indescribable. Ignorance is indescribable. Why are we ignorant? How come I'm not experiencing divinity? The infinite, Brahman, is also known as avarnya, which means there's no description. Even this word, the highest is still in relation to space, to some orientation. You are absolute. You have the relative. We are having the relative. We are being the absolute. Let's chant together. Ahaminasha bhaj yahamaham taya spurati hrit swayam paramapurna sat. Om.